once again I welcome all the students in our this session. We have already started the chapter name physical and chemical changes, that is topic number second on chemistry book. So many things we have already covered in our previous sessions. So I just want to just revise once again what we have seen in this chapter. So we have seen what is mean by so in around there are several kind of changes are happening always, right? And some are natural, some are man made. So for the classification process, we want to study this all the chemical and physical processes or changes. We just classify. We have already seen on the basis of what we have classified these changes, like natural changes, artificial and man made changes. Some are slow and fast changes, we have already seen. Some are periodic and some are non periodic changes also we have seen, right? And then we have started physical change and chemical change. So we have already started a physical change, and we have seen it's just a change in the physical characteristics, that is called a physical change. And the composition or characteristics will be remain same in both the conditions. So that is why, and it is a very short term and reversible change. So these all the things, characteristics also we have seen in our previous chapter, right? So and in the last we have started that how or what are the characteristics or some terms we have already seen, what are the terms are involved in the physical change. Like we have seen freezing, we have seen melting point, freezing point, what is boiling point. So many things we have already seen. And evaporation we have seen lastly, I think that when or which point actually where the water gets start evaporating, so that is called evaporation, right? And it is just get converting into the moisture or vapor form, so that is called evaporation. Then we will just start condensation. So what is actually condensation? The process in which a substance in a vapor or gaseous state changes into a liquid, that is called a condensation. Like we have seen so many times when we are just separating a sugar from water solution, or we want to take separate a pure liquid. So that is we are doing condensation. We are just boiling a water and then we are just cooling the steam. So when we are just cooling the steam, it is again get converted into a liquid form, that is called condensation. Condensation point, actually the temperature which is the gaseous substances that will change into the liquid form, that is called condensation. At the point where the gas will going to convert into the liquid form, that is called a condensation point actually, right? And at this point the gas actually it is converting into the liquid, so it is called condensation point. So that already we have seen how or at which point the liquid will just convert into or vapor form that convert into the liquid, that is called condensation. And condensation point, at what point the liquid gets or the gaseous state which gets start into converting into the liquid state, that is called condensation point. And here are some differences are given in between evaporation and boiling point. So what is evaporation? Is a slow process, right? We can see so many times from the lakes or seas the water is get evaporating, so that will take so much time. So that is why it is called a slow process. And while boiling is a very fast process, because it is required a more heat, right? And evaporation takes place from surface of the liquid, right? It's not getting evaporate water from the bottom of the liquid. So always whenever the evaporation will happen, it is just happening from the surface of the water in water bodies, wherever the water is present. And boiling, it takes place from the all the part of the liquid. It's not only required from a surface or only from the bottom. It is just boiling from all the area of the water where the water is present. So this is also going to be a second difference from both the thing. Then in evaporation, you can see evaporation takes place at all the temperatures below the boiling points. Whatever the boiling points of the liquid before or less than boiling points, in all the temperature the evaporation it's going on. As it is different in different points, means if the evaporation, if the boiling or the point of heating is very less, so evaporation rate is also less. When heat is giving more, so evaporation is also increasing, but it can be happen in all the temperature below the boiling point, and boiling takes place at a fixed temperature on heating, that is it's a boiling point. The boiling point start or boiling start from a fixed point only, like water gets start boiling at 100 degrees centigrade. So the boiling is not happening in all the temperatures, it just started from the temperature of boiling points, right? So that is a basic difference we can say from evaporation or from boiling. So on the basis of this differences we can be understand what is difference between boiling and evaporation. So basically these are very different two things, right? We cannot mix boiling and evaporation. So the next is conditions affect evaporation. We have already said evaporation is a slow process, it can be happen in all the temperatures below boiling point. So there are several conditions are there. So what are the conditions which can be affect to evaporation, that we will see. Evaporation is a slow process, we have already seen, which occurs in all the temperatures, and if wet cloths dry up due to slow evaporation of the water from surface of the cloths, when we are just allowing the cloths for drying, so it is just the process evaporation only which is removing the water from the wet cloths. So it can be done in all the temperatures below the boiling points. So what are the rate of evaporation depends upon the following. Evaporation rate is fast, sometimes evaporation is doing faster, sometimes evaporation is doing little bit slower. So what are affecting, or what are the conditions which can be affect the rate of evaporation, that we will see one by one. Number one, we will see nature of liquid, which kind of the liquid is there, or what are the type of the liquid, that will also affect the rate of evaporation. So some liquids evaporates faster, like petrol, nail polish remover, alcohol, etc. These are liquids which can get evaporate very faster. If you are allowing petrol to keep in open container, so it will evaporate very fast as compared to the water. So that is why, and alcohol also can be evaporate very fast as compared to the water. So it is also depending on the liquid, type of liquid which we are evaporating, and surface area also. If you are keeping some liquid into a small mouth container where the surface is less, so it will take more time for evaporation. And if you are keeping container in an open container which is having a more surface area, so evaporation rate will be faster. So more surface area, more faster evaporation, less surface area, less evaporation. So evaporation takes place from the surface of a liquid, hence its surface area of the liquid increases, evaporation increases. If the surface area of liquid decreases, evaporation will decreases. So example, if the water collected on a small part of the floor is spread over the whole floor, and it dries up very quickly. When we spread the water on all the surface area on the floor, so it will get dry up very fast, and that is only the amount of the water if you are keeping in a container. So it will it will take more time for evaporation. So that is actually the rate of evaporations directly proportional to the surface area of the water. If the area is increasing of the waters, the evaporation rate will be increasing. And the next point we can say temperature. Temperature is also directly affecting to the evaporation rate, so which increases the temperature, evaporation increases. This is also directly proportional. If you are increasing the temperature, evaporation rate becoming faster. If you are decreasing the temperature, evaporation rate will becoming slower. So that is also we can say that means these are the factors which can be affect the evaporation. Number second factor we can say humidity. And what is actually humidity? The amount of vapor present into the air, that is called humidity. So if there is a more amount of water vapor already present into the atmosphere, then evaporation rate will become slower. So this is also affecting directly. If the humidity is more into the air, so evaporation rate will be slower. If the humidity is lower into the air, like the air is very dry, like in summer season we will see our cloth is drying very fastly, the water will evaporate very fast because the humidity in the air is very less. So that is why if humidity in the air is high, evaporation is slow. or if the humidity in the air is less, the evaporation will faster. So that is, it is depending, this is a major things which can say that is affecting the evaporation rate or rate of evaporation. So wet cloths dry faster during the summer due to the higher temperature and less humidity, while they take time in the drying during a rainy season and winter, because in as we see in summer season, there is a rate of evaporation is very faster, because the amount of the moisture and water vapor into the air is very less, so evaporation rate will becoming very faster. While we are taking the example of rainy season or winter season, so that time the moisture or the humidity in the air is more, that is why the evaporation rate is becoming very less. So we can also say boiling is extreme form of evaporation. When we are just talking about what are the extreme form of evaporation, so that is we can say boiling, because from there the boiling will start, right. So that is why it is a point from where the boiling will start, that is we can say extreme level or extreme point of evaporation, both are the same thing, right. So these are some factors we have studied about in evaporation or boiling point, which can be affect directly. So until here we have just finished a physical change, a change from or the matter which is changing from state one state to another state, that is called a physical change. Now we will start with a chemical change. So here we will start with the chemical change. So this is basically we are dividing the changes into a major categories like physical and chemical change. So we have already divided so many changes into a physical change, so many example we have seen already. Now we will divide several other changes into a chemical change. So chemical change is a permanent change, as we have seen physical change is a temporary change. So here chemical change is a permanent change, which new substances are formed, and this is also a basic difference we will also say, because we have seen in physical change we said there is no new substance will form, but in chemical change the new substance will form, and whose chemical composition and physical and chemical property are completely different from those of the original substance. Here one more thing we have to just keep in mind, the new thing will be formed, it is actually a permanent change, it will not reversible change. Chemical change is a permanent change, chemical change is not reversible change. Chemical change will make a new substance if there is a happening of chemical change, so definitely the new something new substance will be formed, and that new substance having chemical properties or physical properties totally different from apparent substance from where it is found. So these are some differences we can also say, or this is the definition for a chemical change, right. So we will just discuss more in detail about this, why, how it is happening, and what are the basic criteria. So we will also say take the examples like your mother daily cook a food for you from a raw and raw vegetables, raw grains. So what is actually the process, that is also a chemical process. Cooking of food from a raw material, from raw grains and vegetable, is a chemical process, because the cooking requires heat energy which is supplied by the kerosene and stove and cooking gas or electric heater. So many things we are using in our house for cooking of food. So why there is a need of this kind of things, because it's required heat energy. So whenever we are just cooking our food, we are using some kind of the equipment which is providing the heat. And now it is interesting to know that whether you can get back the raw grains and vegetable from these cooked foods. So just think, if your mother already cooked a food with the help of raw grains and vegetables, so can you make reverse to it, or can you get the raw materials or vegetables or grains back from the cooked food? So no, because it's a chemical process, and we have already said the chemical process is not reversible and it is a permanent change. So once the food have been cooked or baked, so it cannot be reversed, or we cannot be take the food back to the raw material or the ingredients, we cannot separate the ingredients, because it and here the heat is utilized, and by the absorbing of the heat the new substances already formed. So we can also see the chemical composition or the properties also the property of the raw material or the property of our cooked food, that is totally different, right? We can just check raw rice, it's very hard, we cannot eat it directly, and we just see the properties of a cooked rice, that is very soft, we can eat it easily. So that is why it is said that the chemical property or the properties of a raw material which is totally changed, and what are the final product we are having, so that is why it is called a chemical change. So the answer is no, because composition of raw material substances are getting changed by getting the heat, and it is called a cooked food. With the help of this reaction or equation, we can be understand. First of all, we have taken a raw vegetable, we have given heat for cooking. After giving a heat, it is cooked vegetable now, right? So this is the requirement of heat is also here, and after getting a heat, we will having a cooked vegetable, that is a new substance which is totally different from a raw material, right? So the cooked material retain their own properties or the new forms even after cause of the change heating is removed. When we are removing the heat, heat is a factor we have given. So after removing the heat also, we cannot bring back the new substance into the old substance, a cooked food into the raw food, because we have seen in physical change after removing the factors we can be easily returned back into the normal stage, but in the chemical change after removing the heat or the factors which is applied, we cannot bring back the substance which is already formed into the previous state. So that is why it is called a irreversible change, and this is shows that it is a permanent and irreversible change. The chemical change is permanent change and the chemical change is irreversible, we cannot be take it reverse. So such changes are called chemical change. Now so here so many things we have so many points we have cleared. Chemical change is a permanent change, it is a irreversible change, it will give you a new substance, it will require heat, and after removing the heat or factors we cannot bring back it to the normal stage or previous stage. So that is why it is called a permanent change, right? So this points is very important, which will clear you the difference from physical change and chemical change, right? So now up to here so many ideas is very clear in our mind what is mean by physical and chemical change. So the things will very clear if you are taking examples. So just now we will just start with several examples, we will take some examples which will make our idea more clear about a chemical change. So let's start with the example, like we will take the example of rusting of iron. Already we have seen in so many areas in our house also, if you are not colored iron equipment, so it will get rusted. So what is actually rusting? It is also a chemical change. Why it is a chemical change, we will discuss later. Ripening of the fruit, bursting of crackers, and growing of a plant into a new plant, into an adult plant, that is also called a chemical change. So why these all the things are called a chemical change? Because while we are taking an example of rusting of iron, before it is just iron, and after getting means while it is coming contact with the oxygen and moisture, it is just convert into a rust, and rust is a new product or new thing, and it is cannot be reversible. We after removing this factor we cannot be reverse it to the back to the normal. While the plant is growing into a tree, we cannot bring back the plant into a seedling, that is why it is also a chemical change. And storing of milk, because the lactobacillus bacteria will just utilizing and growing into the milk and just converting into a curd, so it is also cannot be reversible. Preparation of soap from oil cannot be reversible. Changing of sugar into a black powdery substances on heating, when we are just heating a sugar, it get converted into a black substance which is non-reversible. It we cannot bring back a normal form of sugar from this black coal substance. Burning of magnesium ribbon, burning of coal, decomposition of organic matter. When the coal get burned, we cannot bring back to the normal coal, and decomposition of organic matters, like whatever the things are there, trees or plants which are degrade or decompose with the help of some microorganism, and once it get decomposed we cannot bring back into the normal form. So that is why it is also said a chemical change which is permanent and non-reversible, right? And boiling of egg, it is also example of chemical change, because once you boil a egg, we cannot bring back a boiled egg into the normal egg. So these all are comes under the chemical change. Why? Because then in each and every situation, if you observe properly, the new substance will form. Something new substance is going to be formed, and it's a permanent change. We cannot get back into the normal state before. And some changes can be classified into more than one type. For example, here are some examples we will see. That is we will see that is come under to the more than one category. Some changes are there which can be classified into so many categories. Whatever categories we have seen up to here, so we can classify into a different categories. So number one, we can also see the formation of curd from milk, right? We have already seen a formation of curd from milk. It is a chemical change. It is cannot be reversible. So it is come under the desirable change, and we have seen already this is the characteristics for classification. Because why it is a desirable change? Because we want to do it. We want to convert a milk into curd. So that is why we are doing these things. That is why it is a change, but it is a desirable change. We want this change and we have done this change intentionally. That is why it is called a desirable. It will also come under the category of chemical change, because it cannot be reversible. We cannot bring back a normal milk from a curd once it is get converted into a curd. So that is why another category also suitable for this change, that is a chemical change, and it is a slow change, right? It's not within a fraction of second or within a minute it will done. We have to keep it for some time for happening this change. That is why it is also come under the category of slow change. And the lastly, we can also say it's a irreversible change, because once you make the curd, it will not get back to the normal milk. So these are four kinds. In these four types, we will just put a single example. So like this, several changes are there which will suit into several different forms of change. In the classification, you can be use this example into a four type of changes: desirable change, chemical change, it's a slow change, and it's a irreversible change. The example is only a formation of curd from milk. So many examples like this we will also find, that will show you the change is actually having more than one type of changes. The categories is come under the more than one. So the following figures of the activity describe the more properly what is the chemical change. So number one figure we will just see here, that is figure 1. Into that you just see here we are adding a curd, a teaspoon of the curd we are adding into the milk. This is all full milk is there in the container, and once we are adding a small amount of the curd, the milk will just convert into the curd. So that is why it is called a permanent change, chemical change, because once it is get converted into the curd, we cannot get back into the normal milk. This is example. Second example also we will see some chemical changes are shown about the burning of a candle. Once you burn the candle, whatever the amount of the wax get burned, so once it is burned, this much amount of the wax will just convert into the carbon dioxide plus water vapor, light will produce, heat will produce, and we will not get back this wax again. So that is why it is also called a permanent change, right? And it is a chemical change also. So whatever the changes will not come back to the normal state, or it's permanently, so that is come under the chemical change. We will also take the example of your mother is rolling a roti or chapati from a ball of dough and bake it on a pan. So can we get dough back after cooking a chapati? No, because whilst it is get cooked, we cannot take it back. Okay, before baking we can take it back, because we have seen the example of physical change also. When you are just rolling a chapati from a dough, if it's not getting a desirable shape, we can also retry. We can also make it again convert into the dough. That is come under the physical change. But once you are cooking it, after cooking and making a chapati on a pan, it is come under the category of chemical change, because we cannot get back our flour from the chapati afterwards. So because it is a chemical change. Now it is just converting because we have given a heat, so after getting a heat it is just coming under the category of chemical change. We will also see some other examples, like in this activity we will see, take a piece of paper and burn it. So whilst you burn the paper, it will not come back to the normal state. After burning a paper, we cannot bring back the normal paper from that ash. So it turns into ash, and this new substance whose paper are different from that of ash, like final product we are getting the ash, and once you check the characteristics or the properties of the ash from the paper, it is totally different, and it is a irreversible change, and it is a permanent change. That is why it is under the category of chemical change. So ash can't be changed into the paper again, so therefore burning of paper is a chemical change. So this is one more example, burning of paper, that is also come under the chemical change. So like this, give some more example of the substances that is producing the ash. We will also take example of wooden particle or wooden box. If you burn it, it will not get back, and the properties of the ash from the wooden, it is very different. So and it is a permanent change. So these all are the example we have seen to understand what is the change, and now we will just start with burning. What is actually the burning? So burning also we will say it's a chemical process or chemical change. Whatever things we are burning, it will just go into the chemical change category. Why? Because in which the substances reacts with oxygen, right? What is actually happening in the burning? We have already studied that oxygen is required in the burning, oxygen is helping in the burning. So whatever the things is burning, it is just reacting with oxygen from the air and to produce a new substance called oxide with evolution of energy in the form of heat. So once it is just reacting with oxygen, it is called oxides. So once it is just burning, it is just reacting with oxygen and making the oxides of that substance, and additionally it is just releasing the heat energy, it is releasing the light energy, and that is why it is called a chemical change, because the new substance will form in this reaction. It cannot be reversible, and the characteristics or properties of the new substance is totally different from a parent substance. So burning of fuel or candle, etc., so all the burning process, they will come under the chemical processes or chemical change. Understood? So here also for better understanding we will also see some examples. Here the example is, we have just taken a nail, iron nail, and first just attract to it by the magnet. So what will happen? It is get easily attracted by the magnet, and just afterwards just put this nail, iron nail, into a water for several time. After, you just see a reddish brown color layer will be formed onto the nail. So what is actually that reddish brown layer? That is a rust. After getting rust, just once again try that nail to attract with magnet. So this time the nail will not getting attracted by the magnet. Why? Because the new substances, that is rust, will form, and it is made a layer onto the iron, and rust has not the ability to attract by the magnet. So that is why it is called a chemical change, because the rust is before it is not there. So rust is a new substance that is formed by this reaction, and it is totally different, the properties are totally different from iron nail. So that is why, and it is a permanent change, it is a slow change. So these all the things will just, all the characteristics, if you will just keep in mind, so it will just comes into the category of chemical change. So this all the things, all the examples we have seen, that will show us that it will come under the chemical change. So afterwards also we having so many examples, with the help of that we can be easily understand what is chemical change. So here we will just stop here, and whatever the things we have learned in this chapter, especially the chemical change, what are the definition, what are the points to be remember, just write down in your notes, and whatever the part is remaining, we will just continue in our next lecture. So take care.